Hello friends, and welcome to my channel, and also welcome to Alex Syberia Designs' newest release, Grateful for You. So many gorgeous products in this release, you'll be oohing and awing. But at the top of my list is Urban Blooms. This is a very unique die. Partial die cuts can be popped up for a big wow factor. The cutting edges are just around the petals and they're not connected to that little die cut center in the flower. Because the flowers are not completely die cut, you can have a lot of fun with dimension with this die. For my first card, I'm working on pink cardstock, and I've positioned the die a couple of times so that I can make cuts both in the bottom and top left-hand side of the panel. The coloring for this card is very fast and easy. I'll be working with fresh dye inks. Using a small blending brush, I'm applying blush rose to the base of each of the petals and then finishing off the top of the petals with cloud white pigment ink. Adding color to the petals will really help those flowers stand out in that pink background. To prevent getting ink on the background, you may have noticed that I'm using a piece of scrap cardstock and slipping it behind each petal before I start inking it. This is a quick process, and it's also fun to see those petals start leaping off that panel. And when the coloring is complete, I pop it into my spatter box and apply splatter white, which is an opaque watercolor. This is a fairly thick medium, and a bit of water needs to be added to loosen it up so that it will tap off of the fan brush. And the spatter just takes a few minutes to dry, and now I'm going to add some really fun texture to the flower centers. I'm applying a thick ring of glue around the center die cuts. You'll notice that I have my panel just sitting on some copy paper just to protect my work surface. Because the adhesive has been applied thickly, it is going to take a fair amount of drying time, so I'm able to do all of my flowers at the same time. With my panel over top of a coffee filter, I'm going to apply prills. These are like an antique gold color. They're called Gilt Trip, G-I-L-T, Gilt Trip. Isn't that cute? This is going to take some drying time, so I'm going to go ahead and start my second card. For this one, I'm working on white cardstock, and the die was positioned so that it was in the upper portion of the card so that I would have room for a sentiment below it. This time I'm working with Copic markers, and although the medium has changed, the process is all pretty similar. A scrap piece of cardstock is slipped in behind each petal to protect the background from the ink being applied. I'm working with 3 different color palettes. This dark teal flower is being done up with BG 78, 75, and 72. To really accentuate the curve of the petals, the highlight has been placed in the center of it. Darkest tone BG 78 is applied to the base and also the petal's edge. I'll then work towards the center with my mid-tone BG 75 and then apply the highlight with my softest color, the BG 72. Most of the petals, with the exception of the really small ones, I did apply the ink 2 times to get a smooth blend. The largest flower was also done in a teal blend, but with slightly lighter tones. I used BG 11, 15, and 18. 2 of the flowers were done up in oranges to add a nice pop of color. Darkest to lightest, they were colored with YR 68, 65, and 61. This panel was spattered just like the previous panel was with a fan brush. This was actually the first card that I made. I wasn't sure if the prills used to embellish the flower centers were going to give good coverage, so I went ahead and colored them all with a black Copic marker. As I learned, this was not necessary. Like the previous card, I put a good amount of adhesive around the flower centers. This time I used a set of prills that have different colors in them called gourd. I wanted my flower petals to pop up and to be quite stable. On both cards, small foam squares were placed at the back of the petals. For the handful of smaller petals, the foam squares were cut in half. The backing paper was not removed. All of the flower petals were bent slightly upwards so that they would be lifted up from the background. Thin streams of adhesive were placed on the background, making sure that I was going around each of the flower petals. Doing this ensures that the panel is going to lie completely flat on the card front. The only thing I want popping up are those petals. It is being adhered to a matte gold cardstock panel that measures 4 inches by 5 1/4 inches. Once it is in place, I'm going to take my fingers and just go around all of the background, including around the petals, to make sure that it is secured to the panel. And now I can go in petal by petal, lifting it up and peeling off the backing paper from each of the foam squares. This card was adhered to an A2 size white card base. For the other card, the flower panel was adhered directly to an A2 size black card base. The sentiments for both cards were cut from both cardstock and black sheet foam. This is the newly released bloom die. It has been cut from black cardstock. To stack it easily, the foam die cut has not been popped out. This die cut will be slightly recessed from the surrounding foam, making it very easy to align the cardstock one to it. And then it is adhered to the card front, letting a couple of the petals overlap the taller letters. Sentiment for the other card is from the Thank You and Hello die set. The hello was die cut from matte gold cardstock and also black sheet foam. The same method used to stack the previous sentiment is being used for this one as well. This card, the sentiment is adhered to the top right-hand corner of the card front. This card is being embellished with lots of satin gold confetti. The other card was embellished with clear iridescent confetti. Both cards were given additional accents with Nouveau Crystal Drops Simply White. Both the clear iridescent confetti on this card and the gold satin confetti on the other card were topped up with Nouveau Crystal Drops Morning Dew. And that wraps up these cards using this unique new die by Alex Syberia Designs, Urban Blooms. 2 mediums and 2 very different looks. I love this die with its partial die cuts. The result is really something special. The link to your next video stop will be in the description of this video. Aside from amazing inspiration, there are great prizes to be won. So leave a comment and hop along with us. As always, I appreciate your visit and I wish you luck in the draw.